Permission to proceed. Good morning. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
The name is Chesney, Jake Chesney.
Mr. Chesney, what do you do for a living?
Well, I work as an investigator for the Midlands Police Department.
And what do you do as an investigator there at Midlands?
Specifically, I work for the Major Crimes Division, which consists of sexual assault, and homicide specifically. I oversee and lead investigations myself as well.
Are you familiar with the investigation involving today's case?
Yes, the Parker Page's death investigation, I actually led that investigation myself.
And I'll talk more about today's case specifically in a moment, but I want to talk a little bit about your background, your credentials as a police officer. Could you please expand on those a little bit?
Right, so in 2008, I started as a patrol officer. I graduated from the academy and I logged the official hours that you need to become a police officer in general. And then I logged the hours to become a detective. I got out of detective school, and just in 2016, I was promoted to the Major Crimes Division specifically.
So how many arrests have you made over your career?
I have made over 1,000 arrests in my career.
And how many murder investigations have you been a part of as your time as a detective?
Well, in the Major Crimes Division, since 2016, I have been a part of 6 homicide investigations.
And as you talked about, you were a part of today's investigation.
That's correct, I led it myself.
So let's talk about today's investigation. How did your investigation begin?
Well, it actually began as a missing child call. My superior received a call and I received the dispatch in which I took over the investigation. From then on, I proceeded to the residence of the caller, Corbin Dallas.
Corbin Dallas, who is that?
Corbin Dallas was the legal guardian of the missing child, Parker Page, and they were the one who made the call to my superior.
So upon arriving to Corbin Dallas's house, what day was this?
This was on July 15th.
And when you arrived to Corbin Dallas's house, what happened?
Well, Mr. Dallas proceeded to talk about how he knew nothing about Parker Page's whereabouts, and in order to locate Parker, we used a phone application to find the location of Parker's last seen, the location of her phone.
And where was that?
We found that the last known location of Parker's phone was at Calkins Campground and proceeded there immediately.
So once you arrived to Calkins Campground, what did you do there?
Well, my first move was to talk to the campground owner, an Armando Rodriguez.
And what happened after you talked to the campground owner?
Well, I found out that weekend, Parker and Jordan had been staying at Campsite 12, so I proceeded there immediately.
All right, so upon arriving to Campsite 12, what or who did you find?
Well, as soon as I arrived at Campsite 12, that's when I first made contact with the suspect, Jordan Ryder.
Do you see Jordan Ryder in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you point her out?
Yes, that is Jordan Ryder right there at the left side of the table.
The witness has correctly identified the defendant. Now, Detective Chesney, once you made contact with...
Objection, Your Honor. We just asked that this witness identify Jordan Ryder by an article of clothing.
Do you know what Jordan Ryder looks like?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is she sitting in the courtroom today?
Yes, she is.
Is she on the left side of the bench?
Yes, she is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, well, please move on.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Detective Chesney, once you made contact with the defendant there at Campsite 12, what did you notice about the defendant?
Well, when I first got there, the defendant was asleep, and this was at 10 in the morning. Once I actually made contact and had conversation with the defendant, she seemed very nervous and anxious to speak to me. She was avoiding eye contact, and she just seemed a little shaky and nervous.
What did the defendant tell you at that time?
She claimed to have no knowledge about Parker's whereabouts.
And you just said that you found her asleep.
Yes.
Did you collect any physical evidence of any kind there at the campsite?
Yes, we had probable cause to believe that the defendant had been violating her parole at the time. So after making the arrest for that, we searched both her person and the tent, and we collected 2 pieces of evidence. We collected a napkin, which had some written notes on it on the defendant's person, and a hiking stick, which was also in her possession.
Would you recognize that hiking stick if I were to show it to you?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, permission to approach opposing counsel and the witness with Exhibit 17.
Yeah.
Approaching opposing counsel. And approaching the witness. Detective Chesney, what is it that I just handed you here?
This was the same hiking stick that we found in the defendant's possession.
And, Your Honor, at this time, the state offers Exhibit 17 as evidence.
No objection.
So you said that you found this hiking stick with the defendant.
Yes, it was found in her possession.
And you said also that you found a napkin in the possession of the defendant.
That is correct.
Would you recognize a picture of that napkin?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, may I approach opposing counsel and this witness with a copy of Exhibit 26?
Yes.
Approaching opposing counsel. Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Yes.
Detective Chesney, what have I just handed you here?
This is a photograph of the napkin that we collected off the suspect's person.
Is it a true and, or is it a fair and accurate depiction of that napkin?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state offers Exhibit 26 as evidence.
No objection.
All right. Consider it.
All right, we'll talk more about this napkin in a moment, but let's go back to what happened at the campsite 12 on that day, July 15th, 2018.
All right.
What did you do next in your attempts to find Parker?
Well, at that point, we kept conducting the missing child search, and a camper, a Miss Dews, approached me and told me that she had seen both Jordan and Parker the day before. So we followed her to that spot.
All right, so once you got to the spot that Miss Dews led you, what did you find there?
Well, we had led a K-9 unit along the search with us, and one of our K-9s actually signaled to the bottom of the cliff to which we were at.
And what did you find at the bottom of the cliff there?
At that point, we found the victim's body at the bottom of the cliff.
Detective Chesney, did you collect any other evidence throughout the course of your investigation in today's case?
Yes, I did. About a week later, we were approached with a cell phone that was found to be in Parker's possession, and we also conducted a search warrant for the defendant's phone, and through that search warrant, we found an insurance increase policy on the defendant's phone.
All right, we can talk about the defendant's phone more in a moment, but first let's talk about Parker's phone. Would you recognize copies of text messages that were pulled from Parker's phone?
Yes, I pulled those text messages myself.
Your Honor, permission to approach opposing counsel and this witness with Exhibit 27.
Okay.
Approaching opposing counsel. Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Yes. Thank you.
And approaching the witness. Detective Chesney, what have I just handed you here?
This is a screenshot of conversation that we collected from the phone of Parker Page.
Is it a true and correct copy of those text messages?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the state offers Exhibit 27 into evidence. Noting for the court that the statements of Parker Page have already been noted as admissible by the court in a order on motions in limine.
With that stipulation, we have no objection.
Proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Admitted.
Now, if you would, Detective Chesney, could you tell the jury when the last message was sent on this phone?
Yes, the last message was sent from Parker's phone at 4:38 p.m.
And what is the content of that message?
Well, the message reads, "Jordan is angry, RN, because I said I love Corbin more."
All right, I'll take those text messages back from you. Now, you mentioned earlier that you conducted an interrogation with the defendant. What happened during that interrogation?
Well, during the interrogation, I questioned the defendant about the napkin that we had found and about the insurance policy that we had found on the defendant's phone.
Your Honor, may I put up a demonstrative of the napkin that's already been entered into evidence?
Yes.
Now, Detective Chesney, what did I just put up for the jury here?
That is a copy of the napkin that we collected off the defendant's person.
And what did you learn about this napkin through your interrogation with the defendant?
Well, through the interrogation of the defendant, I found that the defendant claimed to have been writing down her thoughts at this time on the napkin.
You also mentioned an insurance policy that you learned about through this interrogation. Would you recognize a copy of that insurance policy?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, permission to approach opposing counsel and this witness with Exhibit 25.
Yes.
Approaching opposing counsel. Detective Chesney, what have I just handed you?
This is a copy of the insurance policy increase.
Is it a true and correct copy of that insurance policy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state offers Exhibit 25 into evidence.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay, pursuant to Rule 801.
This wasn't in the stipulation before we started?
No, Your Honor. However, this document does contain a business records affidavit. Therefore, it's an exception to hearsay pursuant to Rule 803. Yes, Your Honor.
How did you come, witness, how did you come into possession of this?
We got a search warrant for the defendant's phone, and with that, we searched the browsing history of the defendant.
Counsel, they had a search warrant for the phone, and the browsing history was on there. So you're saying in the browsing history, there was an insurance policy?
There was the link to the insurance policy, which we searched.
And your objection is based upon what?
Hearsay, Your Honor. Specifically, we ask that they lay the necessary foundation if they believe that this is a business record.
I'm going to have to agree with counsel there. Could you establish that this is a business record?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So, Detective Chesney, this you collected through your investigation, as you testified.
Yes.
And did you receive any other documents relating to the actual insurance policy increase quote?
Well, yes, if you flip the page, this is a certificate from the JFG Insurance Company, which is the company which the insurance policy was from. And yes, this is the insurance company's business record.
And so, what else does it say in that certificate?
Well, it says that this life insurance policy increase quote dated July 15, 2018 is a true and accurate copy.
Your Honor, at this time, the state offers Exhibit 28 spotted evidence.
I'm not going to admit into evidence, however, you can discuss it with the jury, and you can talk about it, and you can respond, counsel.
Yes, Your
And
Honor.
the jury will decide whether or not, what weight to give to it.
Yes,
Your
Your
Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Please proceed.
So, Detective, during the course of your interrogation, what else did you learn from the defendant about her life insurance policy?
Well, in the napkin that was found, on the top right, there are some values for monetary amounts, and those same values were found in the insurance policy increase.
Are these the values that you're talking about?
Yes, they are.
And did you learn anything else about the life insurance policy through the defendant?
Well, we learned that the life insurance policy increase went from $10,000 to $200,000, and that same number, $200,000, is circled on the napkin.
Detective Chesney, I have one last question for you. Throughout the entire course of your investigation, did any of the evidence that you collected or any of the witnesses that you interviewed ever lead you to another suspect besides Jordan Ryder?
No.
I pass the witness. And Your Honor, may I publish all of these exhibits that have been entered to the jury?
Yes.